first game of round 11 was a highly anticipated matchup between the Melbourne Demons and the Western Bulldogs. And it almost, I hate to say it, but it almost was a little disappointing. I don't believe it lived up to the hype because the Doggies had no answer for what the Dees were doing to them on the field because they handled them zero lead changes, and they win by 28 on this one in a game where it looked like they barely broke a sweat at some points because not only, I mean, you had 2 3 goal scorers with Bailey Fritsch and Tom McDonald, and it, they were able to capitalize off of a lot of costly turnovers from the Doggies, but then also just some really poor goal kicking too. It was a weird look from these Bulldogs because I haven't really seen them look this way for most of the season. Maybe the Richmond game, but that's about it on this one. And as you go through this, let me know what you guys think about this game. But also, does this win reflect better on the D's, or does it reflect worse on the Doggies?
I think it reflects worse on the Doggies just because, let's be honest, the way Luke Beveridge coaches his team, the way they play, they'll handball you to death. They
Mm-hmm.
just make footy look so pretty with the way they move the ball so fluidly, whether it's by hand or by foot. These guys just, it's almost like death by a thousand cuts, or, getting the knockout blow in boxing. Like the Doggies know how to hurt you. They
Mm-hmm.
can identify your weakness and just go hard. But at the same time, they just looked lost. I think it's a bigger indictment. Yeah, it's a huge win for Melbourne. They've looked fantastic all season. This is their best season since, the 50s when Norm Smith, the namesake for the medal, when he was coaching and when their glory years.
Mm-hmm.
But the Doggies, they've come into this year with really high expectations. I was picking them as a flag contender even
Yes.
before the season started, just because
That midfield.
yeah, even without Trelaw, obviously he's hurt now, but they can damage you. They really can carve you up, but
Mm-hmm.
they just looked lost. They didn't have the endeavor and the fitness levels they usually did. Melbourne just caught them snoozing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, for me, this was one of those where this was a little bit of. I think it's 50-50 of both. I think I completely agree with you. I heard this several times. Is the Western Bulldogs are kind of like the Harlem Globetrotters of footy. I mean, they move the ball so quickly and so elegantly at times. But the other thing this really showed you is the old adage, defense wins championships, because this literally was a defensive masterclass by Coach Goodwin at Melbourne. I watched one of the footy shows that I watched, and they really did. They took away everything that the Western Bulldogs like to do.
Mm-hmm.
They like to be able to handball and they like to swing it across the field. And literally, Melbourne flowed right with it. They did not let them get any open space to be able to open up the game. They liked to handball through the corridor. It was not there.
No,
Literally, Melbourne packed it. I mean, they played packed defense, almost like a zone defense in college basketball over here in the States. They did not let the Western Bulldogs do what they have been doing to so many people.
Mm-hmm.
Shane Goodwin, I got to give you credit, sir. You literally out coached, out tactically geniused Luke Beveridge in this game, and you made a Western Bulldogs team who, as we've kind of all said, a lot of people saw as a flag contender. Yes, they're without Chalor. Yes, they were without Dunkley. But this team is still really, really good. You were still expecting a better performance from the Western Bulldogs, and Melbourne did not let them do it. And it also helps when you take Tom Liberatore away from this Bulldog midfield.
Mm-hmm.
You take away a lot of their get out of jail free cards in the center, and when you have Max gone, being able to take away English and Jordan Sweet, who had kind of been dominating ruck battles for most of the year, that lets Petraka and Oliver have field days. So this literally was a masterclass by Coach Goodwin. I got to give it to it. The D's stamped themselves, saying we are legitimate flag contenders. We are no longer the choking demons of years past. And man, they are going to be so much fun to watch their matchup this weekend as well, because it's just as big.
Yeah, and one of the themes now the Western Bulldogs with 2 losses on season. Their first one back in round 7 against Richmond, and one of the things there they went 7-13. Poor goal scoring and a lot of turnovers in that game. Same thing is what kind of did them in here against the D. So when you run a very well organized defense like what Richmond does, like what the Dees have, that's the blueprints of how you're going to handle this Doggies team. So they're going to have to do some fixing because it's like you said, Donnie, it's not going to get any bit easier for them.